Value City Outdoors. How are you tonight? If we haven't met before, I'm Kelly Howard, and tonight I wanted to talk about 5 safety tips for kayaking. It's a quick one tonight, so if for some reason you miss it, you can always catch it later on the replay. Tell your friends about it, and let's jump right in. So first thing I want to talk about as far as just like kayak safety is that you have to take care of yourself first. So think about like personal well-being. Things like you want water. You want to make sure you've got your water bottle with you. You want to make sure that you have sunscreen. You want to consider a hat, okay? And like this particular hat, terribly fashionable, has vents on the side just to keep it nice and cool when you're out there on the water. Another thing you want to consider are sunglasses. These happen to be, if you can see them, these are these crazy sunglasses called Spokies that I just love. What they do is they'll stretch out, they go around the back of your head, and then you can tighten them down. So if you're wearing a helmet or whatever, but you don't have to have Spokies. You just have to have a pair of sunglasses just to protect your eyes on the water. So think about that. And then the next thing, step 2, so that's personal well-being. Oh, wait, sorry, forgot. Take some snacks, especially if you're somebody like me who has to eat all the time. Just, take some snacks with you. You also might want to consider something like, you see my attractive outfit I'm wearing this evening? This is a rash guard. It keeps sun off you. It's about a 50 SPF. So something like that, and it makes it easy to wear a PFD over it. So think about that. Step number 1 is personal well-being. Step number 2 is safety. Safety for yourself and for the people that you're with. So I always have a bag. I always have a bag that I travel with when I'm paddling. It varies a lot in what goes into it, depending upon where I am, what I'm doing, who I'm paddling with, if I'm responsible for a big group of people or whatever. So this bag, this is just a simple dry bag that you can fill up, and then of course you roll it down like this, click it, and hold your goodies in there. But use something like this. It'll also clip into your kayak. In there goes several different things. One of them would be some sort of first aid kit. Obviously, this is not a first aid kit. It's just simply a Ziploc bag filled with the things that I normally use. So I'll throw in, I don't know, whatever I think is appropriate for that particular paddle or that particular trip I'm going on or whatever it is. If you have something like, I usually throw some ibuprofen in, and I'll put them in a used or an old contact case. If you can see that, it keeps them dry. So if you've got something that you need to take along, you think someone needs Benadryl or whatever, you can always use a contact case. I also carry some sort of multi-tool. This is an old Leatherman who's obviously it's been in my bag a lot because it's pretty stuck together. But some sort of multi-tool. You'll want, I carry an extra whistle in my safety bag, and then I'll carry one on my PFD too, which I'll show you in a second. But this is in case I need to give it to someone, if we're going to communicate. If you hear like 1 whistle, that typically means go. 3 whistles, it typically means stop. So you can communicate though with a whistle when you can't hear each other on the water. I also like carrying space blankets or whatever you want to call them. They're just these silver blankets. I buy them in gross, give them to all my friends. But if for some reason you get caught out on the water, or someone's getting hypothermia, or something's going on where someone is really cold, these things will hold the heat in. So, and they fold up to nothing. So a couple of those are a good idea. Light source. A light source really varies. Like if you think you might get caught on the water late and you just need to be able to see each other, you can use something like a light stick that just cracks, and then you attach to each other's kayaks. Or, there's a lot of different things you can do with light sources. You can even carry something like this. I don't know if you've seen these before, but they're solar powered, and see, this one is not blown up, but you can blow it up and it floats. So nice source of light also. I usually carry additional food in that bag too. If someone forgets to carry their own food, someone's getting low blood sugar or whatever, I'll just toss a few bars, maybe some goo, something like that in. So step 2 is have some sort of safety bag with you. That's good for the people that you're paddling with and the conditions you're paddling in. You also want to consider having some sort of tow, right? Just in case you've got people along who you might need to assist them. This is a super short tow. It does stretch. Like if I want to use it on, I can attach it to my PFD in the back and then to someone's boat in the front. Or if I am using not a whitewater boat but something else, I'll just take some parachute cord and use it. So whatever it's going to take to get someone and myself taken care of on a safety-wise as far as taking care of them. Another personal well-being step, and not all my friends agree with this one, but I really think that water shoes are important. Having your feet covered it does a couple of things. One of them, it protects your feet. If you're walking around in the water, you don't know what's down there, you don't want to step on a piece of glass, you don't want to step on something that could, scratch you and cause injury later on. Also, when you're on the side of the river, your feet can get slippery, or if you're wearing just like some, I don't know, I have some shoes that I use after boating called dogs, and they're very similar to Crocs, and they're super comfortable, super slippery too, those. So you want something that when you're on the side of the river or you're getting out of your boat on the lake or whatever it is, you've got something covering your feet. These are kind of like terribly attractive also. These are like my winter boots, and I probably shouldn't tell the story, but since we're all friends here, my new pair of summer neoprenes are coming. So just to preface this, when neoprene gets old and has been wet a lot, it gets a special stench. And so my last pair of shoes, I was coming back from a kayaking trip, I think the end of last year, and I just couldn't be in the car with them any longer. They smelled that bad. So I stopped on the side of the road and threw them away. So I ordered some new ones. So I can't play show and tell with them tonight yet, but yeah, they're out there. The next step, so that's step 3, is your feet. Cover your feet. Use something, I like neoprene booties or neoprene shoes because they're pliable, they're malleable. If I'm putting my feet into a small boat, it doesn't matter. My feet don't get cramped. But, whatever you use, make sure they will not slip on the side of the river or the lake and will protect your feet. Like open-toe shoes, not always the best if you're going through like muddy areas and things. So consider that. Another thing that you want to think of, step 4, is going to be your PFD. And forgive me for a second while I put this on. I've got to lose my microphone here eventually. All right, there's going to be a little bit of clanking about on this with my mic while I put this on. But what you want to look for with your PFD is you want to make sure that it's something that is comfortable, like super comfortable, and fits you properly. So on this one, this is a replacement from the one I have paddled with for a very long time. And give me just a second. I don't usually get dressed on screen here, so it takes me a sec. So what you want to do is make sure it's fitted to you properly. Now, right now, the way it's fitted to me is last time I wore it, I had a lot of clothes on, I had a dry jacket on underneath me, so it was a lot, there was a lot more of me and my clothing underneath there, so I want to make sure when I put it on that it's going to fit me nice and tight, so snug, not tight, you don't want to choke yourself, but nice and snug. So you'll find that on all PFDs there are different types of, and you probably can't see me squirming around over here, but you'll see that there's a lot of different adjustments. So like on the side of this vest here, you can tighten it up. You're going to always have, or you should always have, a snap that goes underneath the bottom, right, the bottom of your vest. That's important. I see a lot of people slopping around with that bottom buckle undone. And you're wearing a PFD because if something happens, you want to be able to float, right? So it's like wearing a bike helmet without your helmet clipped. I see that happening too. So you definitely want to make sure that you're clipping your buckles properly and that you're tightening it up to the point where you're snug but not uncomfortable. If someone was to come along, they could take this vest and pick me up with it, actually, with very little movement in it. For me, this is a super comfortable vest because my arms have lots of movement and I can just paddle all day long in it. But you'll find that when you go out and look for a PFD, oh, there's like 1,000 different variations of style these days. So your vest sometimes can fit uncomfortably with your kayak if you have a high back on your kayak. So you want to make sure that the vest that you buy actually fits that kayak too. But in my world, I think your PFD is the most important thing to purchase. You can borrow a boat, you can borrow a paddle, but you should always have a PFD that you really, really enjoy wearing and that fits you properly, keeps you safe. And, you know, they will wear out. It takes a long time, but they will wear out. So definitely check it over. I mean, this one happens to be brand new, so it's nice and shiny. It doesn't even smell yet. So, but basically, you just want to keep your gear well. The other thing about your PFD is wash it after you use it, and don't keep it in your trunk. Don't keep it like, you know, where it gets super, super hot, because, I don't know, I mean, it just doesn't seem like the right thing to do with it. Keep it from getting moldy too, because they will get moldy if you get them wet and you don't dry them out before you put them up. I keep a whistle, and it goes in this little pouch. I don't know if you can see my little pouch here. Very tricky. But yeah, you just want to make sure that your vest does everything you want it to do. All right. That's step number 4, or tip number 4. And tip number 5 is, I would prefer to suggest that everyone paddle with a buddy. And I know it's not always feasible. In fact, you know, lots of people don't have friends who go out paddling. But paddling with a buddy is a true safety factor. If you're a BCO member, we've got lots of people who go paddle with you. You know, just post it in the Facebook group. Come to one of the kayaking events or something. But if you don't have anyone to paddle with, make sure that you download the workbook, and in there you're going to find a float plan. And all a float plan is it's just going to say, you know, where you're going. You're going to give this to somebody, right? Where you're going, how long you think it's going to take, how long you're going to be out on the water, when you should be back, so that someone knows if you were coming back at 2 o'clock today and it's 8 o'clock in the evening, that they better they better check and see where you are, make sure that you got back, you know, check in with you. So that's what a float plan is, and that's why paddling with a buddy always keeps it a little, you know, gives you a safety factor. So let me ask, I'm not sure because I'm running my own technology, but let me see if I can see if there's any questions. Nope, doesn't look like anybody has any questions. So just to wrap it up, step number 1, personal well-being. Step number 2 is have a safety bag. Step number 3 is make sure that you have good water shoes that are going to keep your feet safe. Step number 4 is make sure you have a good PFD. And step number 5 is paddle with a buddy, or make sure that you put a float plan together. So thank you so much. Tomorrow evening, we're going to be live at Austin Canoe and Kayak. So we'll be talking about gear, we'll be looking at boats, we'll be figuring out the right boats for people, and just kind of going through it. You'll be able to try on some PFDs. And Carbach will be there, so you can also have a brew if you would enjoy that. And so we'll be over there tomorrow evening. I think we actually start at 6:30 or 7, and we'll be done about 8, so it's a little longer evening tomorrow evening. But otherwise, have a great evening, and we'll be back tomorrow night. And then Thursday night is all about strokes and how to transport a boat. So I will see you then. Thanks so much.